order of the Littleton Licensing Authority for June 10th to order. I'm Colleen Norton. I'm the city clerk. Currently, the city of Littleton is offering virtual meetings to protect citizens, guests, staff, and all authority boards and commissions members. The agenda will be handled the same way it would be handled for an in-person meeting. As always, citizen participation is encouraged during public comment and public hearings. To participate via phone, please call 669-900-6833. And when prompted, enter the webinar ID 969-2071-6066. There will be two opportunities for public participation this evening, once during public comment and once again during our public hearing for the View House. Microphones for all citizens calling in will be muted until you are called on to speak. Citizens who have already called in can press *9 to raise their hand to be recognized. Once recognized, speakers will have 3 minutes to address the authority. The city clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining and again when your time is up. We expect comments to be civil. Disrespectful or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. For agenda items, the chair will ask for a motion and a second, followed by discussion and a vote. Votes on agenda items will be made using a thumbs up for a yes and a thumbs down for a no. The city clerk will call all ayes and nays of all votes. I'm going to take an initial roll call. Before we get started tonight, we do have to nominate a new chair and a new vice chair. So I'm going to start with Authority Member Buchanan.
Here.
Authority Member LaVere.
Here.
Authority Member Fullenwider.
Here.
Authority Member Webb.
Here.
Authority Member Ravindran.
Here.
Authority Member Amon. Authority Member Peters. We do have a quorum. Just a couple of quick things before we do nominations. We did have a board member resign his position last year. So Authority Member Amon, who is not on the call yet, but I'm hoping he's trying to get in, has moved up from alternate 1 to a full voting position. Authority Member Ravindran has moved up from alternate 2 to alternate 1. And Andrea Peters is our new board member who will sit in the alternate 2 position. Alternates do participate in active discussion on anything on the agenda. They do not vote. Currently, I have 5 active members here. If Authority Member Amon shows up, he will take over his voting position. But right now, Jyoti is in a voting position. So at this time, we are going to do nominations for chair and vice chair. And what we do is we do nominations, not motions. If I have more than one nomination, then we would do motions and seconds and take votes until we have someone with the majority of the vote. So with that, I would entertain nominations for the position of authority chair. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate it. Is Tim still eligible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I nominate Tim as
Okay.
chair.
Thank you, Authority Member Buchanan. Do I have any other nominations? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to appoint Tim LaVere as authority chair.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
So second it.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Authority members, if you would now cast your votes, a thumbs up is a yes, a thumbs down is a no. The vote is 5 in favor. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Chair LaVere. Now we'll go through the same process for vice chair. I would entertain a nomination for vice chair.
I mean, I would nominate Pete as vice chair.
Thank you, Tobin. Any other nominations? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I so move.
Thank you. A second?
I second.
Thank you. Authority members, please cast your votes using a thumbs up for a yes, a thumbs down for a no. The vote to appoint Authority Member Webb as vice chair carries unanimously. Congratulations. With that, I am going to turn this meeting over to Chair Lavere, who can go from here. Chair, do we need to do a second roll call, or are we good since we don't have authority member Amen yet, or Peters?
I think we can resume with
Okay.
the current role.
Okay. I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you much. Authority, we have a agenda before us. Are there any changes to the agenda from anyone? All right. Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Minutes to be approved. Are there any changes to minutes from the March 11th meeting? Seeing no changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the minutes of March 11th.
Second?
Second.
All right, with a thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no, we shall vote.
The vote is 5 in favor. The motion to approve the minutes carries unanimously.
Thank you. Item 4 on our agenda is the public comment. Do we have anyone lined up for public comment for something that is not on the agenda at this time?
I do have callers in the queue, Chair. So let me just say this real quick for those that are in the queue and listening. If you wish to address the licensing authority under public comment, please call 669-900-6833. And when prompted, enter webinar ID 969-2071-6066, and then press *9 to be recognized. If you're currently in the queue and wish to speak during public comment, press *9 to raise your hand. Public comment is an opportunity to express opinions on anything that is not part of tonight's agenda or a public hearing. If you're in the queue to speak during our public hearing, please just stay on the line and we'll address you in a little bit. Chair, I don't have any hands raised.
Okay. Should we give it 20 seconds?
Up to you, Chair.
All right. Please let me know if anyone does raise their hand. We might circle back to it. We'll move on to item number 6 on our agenda. We have no general business tonight, so we'll skip item 5. Item 6 is public hearing. 6A is a resolution approving a liquor license application for View House 3 Corporation, doing business as View House Eatery, Bar, and Rooftop at 2680 West Main Street, Littleton, Colorado.
Thank you, Chair. As we noted in the documentation to the authority, this is a little bit of a unique situation. In reality, it's a conversion of license type from a tavern license, which they currently hold, to a brew pub license. However, under state statute, there is no opportunity to convert your license. You need to go through the process of applying for a new license. And then if that license is approved, you surrender your past license. Authority members Lavere and Webb, you may have been on the authority a few years ago when we did that for Bistro at Aspen Grove. So it's a similar process here. We made a couple of concessions on this one due to COVID-19 and the inability to actually conduct a true canvas of the adult inhabitants of the neighborhood. So there was no company engaged to go out and get those signatures. We viewed this as just that, as a change in license type. We also looked at the fact that the same license type in the same defined neighborhood was approved less than 2 years ago with a very positive response from the adult inhabitants. And so we looked at those things so that we could kind of move this forward. And so I will let you take that from there with the documentation. We do have Rachel Johnson and Brad Mansky from the View House here to present for their license.
Welcome, guys. Rachel, Brad, the floor is yours to present for us your presentation of your application for the brew pub.
Mr. Chairman, before Rachel and Brad begin, let me notice for the record that I noticed the View House is represented by the Dill and Dill Law Firm. I office in the Dill and Dill building. I know the attorneys in that firm. I don't have any conflict, but I think I need to put it on the record that I'm cognizant of that relationship.
Thank you. Thank you, Co-Chair Webb. Who will be presenting? Brad, will that be you or Rachel?
I know John is on the phone. He seems to have called in as an attendee, and I don't know if he's muted or not.
What are the last three what's the last three digits of his phone number?
It looks like the 737.
Mr. Stonebreaker, there we go. Kim, can we unmute the caller with the last three digits of 737? That's John Stonebreaker. He's counsel for this licensee.
Yes.
Sorry. No worries.
Oh, that's all right.
Mr. Stonebreaker, go ahead.
This is John Stonebreaker. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can.
Oh, okay. Well, my observation is lawyers are probably best muted anyway. So, since I've gotten through, I'd like to just briefly state this is John Stonebreaker of the law firm Dill and Dill, appearing on behalf of the View House. And as noted, Mr. Mansky and Ms. Johnson, Brad Mansky and Rachel Johnson also are before the authority this evening. And we're ready to proceed at the pleasure of the authority.
Thank you. Do you have a presentation on what these changes are? Can someone speak to, we understand the idea that this is changing the license type from the tavern to the brew pub. What is the physical changes to the premises?
So if I may, I'd like to just call Mr. Brad Mansk and basically have him take us through that. I also have a few sort of general questions to talk to him about for the record as well. So if it's acceptable to the board, I'll just ask Mr. Mansk a few questions.
That works.
Okay. So I don't know if the authority wants the witnesses sworn in or if we should just move forward.
Colleen, do we have an opinion on that?
Chair Levere, I think in keeping with our general processes, yes, we can go ahead and swear them in. Just have them raise their right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give is truthful?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call Mr. Brad Mansk first. And sir, would you spell us your last name and tell us your capacity or position with the View House organization, please?
My name is Brad Mansky, M-A-N-S-K-E. I'm the vice president of View House, and I've been with them for the 8 years of their existence.
Okay, thank you. And how long has the View House location, which is currently licensed in the city of Littleton, been in existence?
We opened in June of 2017, so we've been there for 3 years, and we opened with a tavern license, and we'd like to change that license.
All right, and what I want to know is if you've had any violations of the state of Colorado or city of Littleton liquor code during that 3-year period.
During the 3 years of View House Littleton or View House 3 Corp, we have had no violations or any to speak of or any conversations. We're a family-oriented, fun environment. Our food capacity is is 65% food and 35% liquor, beer, wine. So we're just a family shop and eatery.
All right. Now, so today you're running as a restaurant under a tavern license. The majority of your sales are food as opposed to alcoholic beverage. Given that starting point, what is it that the View House would like to do in downtown Littleton?
Well, View House as a company, approximately 5 years ago, we partnered with a local brewery, and we started brewing our own beer as a contract brewery. And it's been met with very high success at all 4 of our locations. And we want to expand that brewery and change our license to a brew pub license so we can begin brewing beer in downtown Littleton, which initially will supply the View House 3 location, and then it'll be able to supply our other existing locations.
Okay. So what I'm understanding is there's really no change in the retail operation. The bars will be in the same place, and the touch and feel, the decor will all be the same. The very nice rooftop deck will all be the same, but you're adding the manufacturing facility into the existing building.
Yes, sir. The existing building has approximately 4,000 square feet, which we are converting a portion of that into the brewery manufacturing, and the remaining of that space will be area for people to sit and enjoy their tap beers and in a tap room. And we'll be able to have additional meeting spaces for anyone available in the city that would like a meeting room. And we're doing no additionals to the outside of the building or the historic of the building. There's no changes to the rooftop or any of the existing facility as it sits.
Okay. And how big will the manufacturing facility be upon completion?
Approximately 1,000 square feet of the 4,000 available space.
All right. And you filed a plan not only with the city of Littleton, but also with the TTB, the feds, relative to the manufacturing location?
Yes, we received our TTB permit or approval of our TTB permit pending the construction of the brewery and the final permits and licensing with the city and the state, and then the inspections. But we are approved and ready to go.
All right. And the TTB, the final TTB, be nice if I could talk. The final TTB permit has also been filed with the city of Littleton. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. And what I want to ask you is, are you aware of any brew pub operations per se in the downtown Littleton area?
I believe that this will be the first brew pub license in the downtown area, bringing another wonderful thing for the city of Littleton and the downtown area for the residents and the people coming to Main Street.
All right. So what I'm getting at is you'll still be selling beer, wine, spirituous liquors, but your own beer that you sell will be of your own manufacture as opposed to an outside manufacturer today.
Yes, sir. We will be brewing our own beer and we'll be selling it fresh from the system. And you can't get beer any better than right out of the fresh brewed.
Okay, that's a fact. And what are your hours of operation, and will those change as a result of the manufacturing operation?
Our hours of operation are Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. till 12 a.m. And then Saturday and Sunday, it's 10 a.m. till 12 a.m. And at this time, we have no anticipation of changing those hours. In
All
fact,
right.
prior to this, we were open till 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturdays, and we've scaled that back because we just feel the food operations is the most important thing to us, as well as our beer. And people don't really eat after midnight.
Okay. Fair enough.
Mr.
Describe
Stone-
how you train your employees and how you make sure that you're in ongoing compliance relative to the state liquor code.
Well, all of our managers are they're ServSafe certified in the food end of things, and then they are tip certified as well. All of our employees during their hiring orientation go through a 2-hour liquor serving class that immediately follows the tip certification. And then within 60 days of hire, we put them through the full tip certification. We have a general manager on our staff within Viewhouse that is a tip certified proctor. So she goes around every 60 days and handles a full 4-hour class in each location. And then we have our own in-house policies where we make sure everyone has an ID in order to drink at any age. We ID everyone that is ordering alcohol. We don't allow vertical IDs. Currently with the COVID, if there is a vertical ID, they have to have multiple forms of ID certifying that as well. And then a manager double checks that. And we've instituted that because most people can't go and get those currently. And once the state motor vehicles and things change, then we'll go back to no vertical IDs.
Okay, that's terrific. And what I'm hearing is that your meal service, you're comfortable with your ability to observe the 15% food requirement that's imposed by the brew pub licensing.
Oh, absolutely. We currently, our food to alcohol mix is 65% food and 35% liquor, beer, and wine.
All right. So the question I'm going to ask you is going to sound a little bit silly, but what I'm asking is there a need in the neighborhood for the brew pub license as opposed to the tavern license, which you have today?
I think it is. The people are changing. People like to try new beers. People like to try fresh beers. People like to go to tasting rooms. There's some wonderful breweries within the city limits of Littleton, and it's a need that we have seen with our beers being manufactured by an independent brewery, that they want our beer and they'd like to see us make it on site.
Okay, that's terrific. And the last question I would like to ask you is it your personal desire that this license be granted by the city of Littleton?
It is my personal ask of the city and the officials here that they grant this license.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to see if there's any examination of Mr. Mansky from any member of the authority. Perhaps the city attorney would have a question.
If I could, Mr. Stonebreaker, this is Colleen, the city clerk. I do just want to
Certainly.
one quick correction. Mr. Mansky did state that they would be the first brew pub in downtown, and that is not in fact the case. We do
okay.
have a brew pub downtown that's been in operation for 2 years, down on the other end of Main Street from where the View House is.
Okay, you know, I appreciate that correction. I just couldn't find that. So, so thank you.
No worries.
My apologies. I was unaware that there was one. And
yeah, that's actually my error. I looked and I just didn't see it. So.
It's got a good name. It's Jackass Brewery. So
Jackass Hill.
Jackass Hill Brewery, which I live on Jackass Hill. So
Okay. Well, fair enough.
Councilor, this is
Mr.
Steve Webb. I have one question for Mr. Mansky.
Oh, go ahead.
Just for clarification, sir, the location of the new brewing operation, is that to the east of the main floor in that space in the view house that hasn't been used before?
Yes, sir. That is the space that the brew pub will go into.
Okay, and the seating depicted on the diagram, where is that in relationship to both the sidewalk to the north and the alley to the south?
The brew pub manufacturing end of it will be towards the alley, the back end of it. And then the seating will be towards the front of and closer to Main Street.
Will there be an access point from Main Street into that seating? Will you still have to go through the main entrance of the brew pub of the view house?
There is an access door currently, but our plan is to use that and maintain it as an emergency exit and have people enter through the front of the view house and check in at the host stand, and then they'll be able to freely walk into the brew pub.
Thank you.
Mr. Mansky, what would be the theoretical timeline of construction, assuming that the city of Littleton looked favorably upon the brew pub application?
We are working currently with the architects and the engineers. We have all the equipment spec'd out and has presented it. They're working on the final engineering plans for the obviously the wastewater and the electric and the water lines, and we hope to be submitting that very shortly. We did talk with a virtual meeting with Community Development Elizabeth, and she did tell us that she feels we'll be able to move directly to the building permit, and the planning entitlement process was needed. So Rachel can speak a little bit higher on the submitting of the plans, but they're in the process currently.
Okay. Yeah. And Rachel, I'm not trying to hold your feet to the fire. I'm just trying to give the licensing authority a general guide as to what the timing might look like.
Sure. As Brad mentioned, we did have a meeting with Elizabeth Marchetti. She said that we could go directly to the building permit since we've already gone through historic and other entitlement. That being said, once our plans are submitted, we will have a general contractor on board, and that might be the longest lead time that we will experience at this point, mainly because of the current status of our country. Construction has come to somewhat of a halt for new construction, so that's been something that we've been trying to navigate. But once we do start construction, we anticipate a 90-day build out, if that clarifies.
Yeah, that's terrific. So, Mr. Chairman, given that, we're happy to have the issuance of the license by the city conditioned upon, obviously, the satisfaction of the community entitlement process, the building permits, and any other appropriate city process, as well as the issuance of the state license. What I'm saying is all of it's going to take a while.
Great. Yeah, I don't know if we will put any conditions on the approval. You're not asking that we conditionally approve it and then you hold on to your tavern license until building and permits are done and constructed. Is that correct? Or are you asking?
No, that's exactly what I'm asking, is precisely that point. What we are asking is that the city would simply approve it, but everybody knows that it's subject to us getting through the permitting process, getting through the building process, turning the license around at the state. We just want to remain in the business that we're in, the tavern business, until the construction process is complete. And then, of course, we would, trade the tavern license for the brew pub license at that point.
And if I could just interject, this is Colleen. Chair Levere, that's what would happen. If approved tonight, we would go ahead and hold that approved application until the view house was closer to being done, and then submit it to the state. They've already done a concurrent review. Even if we get the brew pub license back, they would still be able to, let me rephrase that. We would hold on to it until they were ready to switch over, and then we could get the new license within just a matter of days, and it would be a handoff of tavern to brew pub.
Okay. Do we have to put that condition within?
And Colleen, thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to say. You put it much better than I.
No worries, John. I'm sorry, Tim, what was your question?
Would we have to put that conditional statement within our motion this evening?
No.
Okay.
No.
Colleen, have we audited or checked with the other 12 licensees or 11 licensees on Main Street to see if they had any objections from a business standpoint?
The city has not. That's not within our purview to do. That's not our responsibility to audit the other businesses to see what their stance is on issuance of a license. The onus of that falls on the applicant, as with any other licensing process.
Maybe Rachel knows. Rachel, have you had any pushback from the other licensed Main Street establishments?
Not that I'm aware of. Brad, go ahead. You would know
Oh,
better.
I thought you got kicked off. Sorry. Go right ahead.
I did. We have heard of no opposition. I believe we have someone on the line willing to speak in our favor. And we did have some in-house petitions to the people that came into View House once we were allowed to open. And I don't believe we had anyone sign no.
Yeah,
And
we saw those.
And I would just add in that of the signatures on those petitions, only one was a Littleton resident and lived far outside the 1 mile radius that would have been considered the adult inhabitants of the neighborhood. There were no other Littleton signatures on there, and several were from out of state.
1,000 square feet be enough to supply all your other locations as well? Or do you anticipate having to grow?
Well, our plan is to, as we grow View House and we grow the next location in Thornton and so forth, we'll be adding brew pub licenses at other facilities to continue that manufacturing. So this location will be a 7.5 barrel system, so it's not a very big system. It will brew the 5 beers that we currently do under the View House brand for that location, and then we'll be able to brew 1 beer for our other locations currently.
Thank you.
I have a technical question for you, Mr. Bansky. On page 50 of the packet we received, there's a Department of the Treasury Brewers notice. And on there is question 20 that was checked in the affirmative. It says, "We plan to sell retail liquors other than beer." Is that an indication that you are just selling wine and liquor for consumption on premises? Or because they phrase it as retail liquors, and I know state and federal language might be in conflict here, you're not planning to sell at some future date beer to go for off-premises purposes?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that last section?
You are not at some future date planning or intending to sell off-premises retail liquor?
No, sir. We're just planning on producing our beer. We have no plans to produce liquor or sell liquor retail.
Okay.
And Chair, if I could.
This is John Stonebreaker. I just want to clarify. The brew pub license is allowed to sell off-premises products of its own manufacture, which relates to its beer products. So the brew pub can sell 6-packs and growlers and that type of thing on an off-premise basis. spirituous liquors and wine products cannot be sold on an off-premise basis under the brew pub license.
Right, and Chair Levere, I think the confusion comes with that term retail. But in the pyramid that is liquor licensing in the state of Colorado, that retail tag doesn't just apply to like a retail liquor store. It is any licensee that is selling direct to the consumer. So it may be a C-store, a retail store, a hotel and restaurant license, tavern, brew pub, any of those kinds of things. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be retailed out for off-premise sales. It's just confusing terminology.
It's not the first time that's happened with the federal government. All right. Any other questions for our witnesses, the attorney, Mr. Stonebreaker? From Pete, Tobin, Jyoti, or
thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is John Stonebreaker. If there's no further questions of the witnesses, that's all of the evidence that we have to offer before the licensing authority this evening. And I would like to respectfully request that the license applied for, specifically the brew pub license, be granted to my client by the city of Littleton.
Tim, I think we have one caller that Rachel made reference to. We probably ought to take that as public comment or whatever.
Well, is there any more discussion with the authority before we open the public hearing? Chair Levere, did you want to go ahead and open the public hearing then?
Yep. So at this time, seeing no additional questions from the members of the authority, we will open this public hearing at
7:07.
7:07.
Okay. I'm just going to go over a couple things real quick. Just a reminder for anyone who hasn't already called in but may want to speak on this issue, they can call 669-900-6833. When prompted, enter the webinar ID 969-2071-6066. And once on the line, press *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. Currently, other than Mr. Stonebreaker, we do have one other call on the line. The caller with the last 4 digits of 654. If you are wanting to speak on this issue and offer testimony, please press *9 to raise your hand. We do have a hand raised. Kim, can we unmute that caller? Caller with the last 4 digits of 654, you have been unmuted. You can begin speaking now. Please, for the record, identify yourself by first and last name. Thank you.
This is Russell Dammer from the Alley, and we fully support what Brad and the View House is proposing, and we would actually put their beer on tap just to support Main Street.
Great. Thank you for joining us, Russ.
Thank you, Russ.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Chair, there are no other callers on the line.
Great, thank you. We will close the public hearing now at 7:09. At this time, I would entertain a motion from the authority.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion. I move that a resolution of the Littleton Licensing Authority be approved, which grants View House 3 Corporation, DBA View House Eatery, Bar, and Rooftop, 2680 West Main Street, Littleton, Colorado, a brew pub liquor license, contingent upon approval by the Colorado Liquor Enforcement Division, and based upon the following findings of fact. 1, the notice of the hearing was properly posted and published. 2, that the applicant has possession of the premises. The premises are suitable for the requested license. 3, that the needs of the neighborhood are not now being met. 4, that it is the desire of the adult inhabitants of the neighborhood that the license be issued. 5, that existing similar liquor licenses in the designated neighborhood are not adequate. And 6, that the applicant is of good moral character, record, and reputation.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Tobin. We have a motion on the table for the approval of the license. Is there any discussion amongst the authority on their opinions on this matter?
I just had one additional question. Maybe John or Brad can help. I'm a little clear about the opening date. Are we looking at September, October now?
This is John Stonebreaker. The answer to the question is we just don't know for sure. It's a very uncertain environment relative to construction. Once we're through the permitting process, we feel like we can get through the construction in perhaps 90 to 100 days. The problem is getting a general contractor to line up with our cost and commit to a certain time schedule. So it's just uncertain enough that we don't want to say, the end of the year or whatever.
Thank you for that clarification.
Equally, we are buying all new equipment, so the manufacturing of that equipment is 90 to 120 days. And once, hopefully, we receive our approval here, we can go ahead and start making those purchases.
Amongst the authority, is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will go ahead and vote. Thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no.
The vote is 5 in favor. The motion carries unanimously. And I do want to point out that Authority Member Peters, our new alternate 2, has joined us. So they're waving. And so we'll have a little chance to chat with her towards the end of the meeting when we get down to staff reports.
Well, I thank the View House for coming this evening with our unique setup and circumstances. We appreciate your time and good luck with your venture.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, we want to say thank you and to the chairman and the members of the authority. We'd also like to thank the city clerk, Ms. Norton. She was very patient with us and, dealing with us in very difficult circumstances. And we just want to appreciate her extra effort on this application.
Agreed.
Yes, thank you so much. We love being part of Main Street in Littleton, and we look forward to many, many, many years.
Good luck.
Okay, thank you all very much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Moving on to the rest of our agenda. That is it for our public hearing section. Item number 7 on our agenda is reports. We can talk general business with staff, with authority members, and anything you are all seeing in the community.
So real quick, if I can, Chair Lavier, if I could just pop in real quick and welcome Andrea Peters as our new alternate 2. We're glad you were able to make it in for the meeting. Maybe we want Andrea to give us a little bit of background and what she hopes to get out of serving on this particular board. We have members who have been on, they're getting close to their term, and then we have some newer members. So there's a different perspective from each person. And so if we want to just unmute Andrea and give her a chance to introduce herself.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I don't know why my Google Calendar didn't mesh the event at the right time. It's a very weird time to join something like this. My neighbor's also mowing their lawn, so I hope you can't hear that. Yeah, I've lived in Littleton my whole life, and I feel like an adult now. It's time to volunteer and join something like this. So I'm just eager to learn the process and see how it all goes down. It's very interesting. So direct me on what I should be doing, but I'm just going to observe.
Great. Well, welcome. Thank you for serving and volunteering. It's good to have another person on the board to always fill those vacancies as quickly as possible. So that was a good turnaround.
Andrea, what do you do in the real life?
I'm a parent with 3 kids, and I'm a realtor and master gardener. So I just live. We just moved, so we're just a mile south of Old Littleton, and my husband and I both saw that in the Littleton Independent, and we're like, it's time to do something like that. So yeah, very interesting.
Great. Welcome.
Picked a good board.
Good.
We've got great support, and it's always something interesting going on.
I
You
bet.
learn a lot about the community.
Yeah. Okay,
Colleen, any updates on weekends on Main?
So Weekends on Main will be kicking off this Friday. Friday at 3 p.m. We will be closing down Main Street between Biga / Rio Grande and out to Rapp Street from 3 p.m. on Friday until 10 p.m. on Sunday, to allow our restaurants to move seating out into the street and do some open air dining. The city has worked really hard to make sure that we have the correct barriers and signage and things like that set up. We've worked with them, with State Liquor Authority, to modify their premises. State Liquor Authority is working very hard to find ways under the current orders where restaurants can only open to 50% capacity or 50 persons, whichever is lower. And for some of our smaller venues downtown, without some extra outside seating, it almost wouldn't be worth it for them to open. And so this process started several weeks ago, and we took a resolution to City Council that allows them to temporarily close Main Street and consider it extended sidewalk space. And then we did temporary revocable permits for our licensees to give them permission for use of that space. The communications department has worked very hard to make sure that tables are going to be set 6 feet apart and all of that social distancing is in place. So we're excited. Pretty much 99.9% of our licensees downtown are participating. We have a couple of smaller ones that just didn't feel that it was the right fit for them. But all of the big players downtown are participating. So we're excited about that.
Great. With regard to upcoming business, is there anything that we will see next month?
No, and frankly, I'm not expecting a whole lot of new restaurant or liquor license applications at this time. I think, we're going to have a little bit of a cooling off period. That doesn't mean we won't have meetings. I would like to work with the senior assistant city attorney. We've chatted briefly about kind of reviewing our licensing guidelines that we've provided for the authority and updating those a little bit. And so we may be looking at doing some study sessions similar to what we did a couple of years ago when we updated our code. And then that would involve the entire authority. Currently, we're looking at still probably doing virtual meetings for at least the next month, possibly longer. We may have some construction pending here at the city center in the council chamber, which would make it difficult to meet there even when we are able to meet in person. So there's a probability that we will continue this virtual platform for at least the foreseeable future.
And along those lines, if I can butt in for the city attorney's office, we actually, as soon as we ever get new business or any violations, I guess I should say, I hope we don't get any violations, but if we do, we recently hired a new prosecutor under the city attorney's office who would be the one handling those violations. Her name is Tracy Schroeder. We kind of reworked that position a little bit to make it a full-time in-house position instead of a contract attorney kind of filling in as our prosecutor. And so we want her to be pretty involved in some of the trainings that we would do with you guys as well. I hope once we actually are in person, I'm hoping that's sooner rather than later, to introduce her to all of you. If it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon and we can get those study sessions up, I'll have her join those as well. But wanted at least put that on your radar that it will be someone new presenting cases in front of you if we do have any violations coming up.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Sure. And welcome.
Colleen, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
One on the liquor side, one on the dispensary side. Other than Rubio's on Mineral, do we know any establishments that are not reopening or coming back?
Other than Rubio's, I have no confirmation on any other establishments that aren't coming back. That's subject to change, but right now Rubio's is the only one.
Okay.
That won't be coming.
And the dispensary on Prince Street, right at Prince and Berry.
Oh, Green Mountain Care.
Yeah, it's got a green construction fence around it. Do we know what's going
That
on there?
dispensary has been out of business for a couple of years. They forfeited their license a couple of years ago. So we currently only have 3 medical marijuana centers in the city. And that license, even had they transferred that license, a new licensee could not have gone into that location because it's non-conforming. They would have had to find a conforming location. Green Mountain Care was grandfathered into that location because they were already in existence before the city developed the buffer map and the zoning requirements. So much like our original 4 medical marijuana centers, they were grandfathered in. They were the last one that was in a non-conforming position, a non-conforming location. And we have had no applications to take over that 4th license. I believe there's only 1 conforming location left in the city, down east of Broadway off County Line, and it's a build to suit. So, our buffer map for medical marijuana is pretty tight.
Okay. Just saw the fence and wondered what was going on.
2 things I noticed for the changes to our licensees. Adelitas has changed their business name on how they present themselves, right?
Yeah, they are now Palenque. They are in the process of legally changing that with state liquor. They've also had a change of corporate structure, so they're doing that simultaneously. They just kind of jumped the gun on the signage a little bit.
Okay. And then McKinners, they've reduced their footprints, is that right?
Yeah, so they originally started in a much narrower space. And then about 2.5, 3 years ago, Kevin branched out into that other side. And I think now, with business what it is, he's just looking to reduce back to what his original footprint was.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Have we heard anything from this downtown liquor group that Historic Downtown Merchants or the Littleton Business Chamber created or whatever? We heard there was an existence and we haven't heard anything since.
What, the Littleton Business Chamber or?
Well, they were, the woman from Ned Kelly's was forming a separate licensee holder group. They said they were going to come to us.
I have not heard anything on that. Certainly no one has contacted me in this office regarding that. And I would hope as the licensing official for the city, that there'd at least be a heads up. So it might just be conversation at this point.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything.
I heard it through the business chamber.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other observations or notes from the authority, from city staff? All right, at this time.
I would just add real quick, as you travel through our city, I'm sorry, Chair, as you travel through our city over the coming months, while we have these ever evolving executive orders from the governor and bulletins from state liquor, that some of our restaurants may look a little different. You're going to see people sitting out in cordoned off areas of parking lots and grassy areas and all of those things. I don't want you to be alarmed. They are working with us very closely to make sure that they're legally modifying their premises, kind of thing. So just, I wanted you to be aware that you're going to see that at Aspen Grove, and you're going to see that at Bowles and Platte Canyon and those kinds of places. And Littleton Cafe has already been approved to do theirs, so they're going to take up some of their parking lot to expand their outdoor seating. So it's going to happen all over the city.
Thanks for the heads up.
All right. We are now adjourned. Thank you
Thanks,
for coming.
everyone.
Thanks.
Everybody,
Goodbye.
thank you.